place value. So this should be a review from things you've already learned, but I did want to review it just so you know and remember what it is. So for place value, I'm going to remind you, if we look at the number, let's say 9,861, we're looking at the different place values. So this is the ones place, the tens place, the hundreds place, and the thousands place. You've got some notes in front of you. We're going to be taking notes on the place value chart first. So first things first, I want to think of it as sideways. Let's go ahead and turn it sideways so we can go ahead and write on it and think about it. Let's decide that our number is going to be, let's say, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That will help us when we get to be doing other things. Can I rotate it again is the question. I don't think I can. I'm going to have to write sideways now. That didn't work very well. That's okay. So first things first, we're going to start over here, and you know that the first number to the right until we get to decimals, it's going to be the ones place. So you can turn yours the other way and go ahead and write normally, but I'm going to write it like this. The ones place. Because if I was to say this number by itself, I would just say ones place. Let's move on to the left, and we've got the tens place. Because if I was to read the number 21, I would read it as 21. That means the 2 is in our tens place. Now remember, since you're watching a video, if I go too fast, you can super easily pause and catch up anytime you need to. Now let's go to this 3. We know the next number is in the hundreds place. Hundreds place. Make sure you're spelling everything correctly. The 3 is in the hundreds place, because if I was to read that number, I would read it as 321. Now we know once we start and we go 1, 2, 3 numbers in, we need a comma. I've seen some of you starting from the left to put your commas, but you need to start from the right to put your commas. After that first comma, we know we have the thousands place. The thousands place. Because if I was to read that number, I would have 4,000. We know that 4 is in the thousands place. Next, we've got the 10,000s place. 10,000s place. 10,000s. Kind of like how we go from ones, tens, hundreds. We're going to go thousands, 10,000s, and then 100,000s. 100,000s. Is that going to fit? Yes. 100,000s place. Remember, you could have turned yours to the side and written normally. Mine just wouldn't rotate today. So just like we had 1, 2, 3, and then a comma, we've got 1, 2, 3, and then another comma. So for every 3 numbers, you've got a comma. So just like we started over here, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Now we are at millions. Millions. So we went ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Now we're going to go millions, 10 millions, and then 100 millions. Remember to pause if you need time to write. 100 millions. Mine's a little messy today. I hope yours is neater than mine. Now that you've got those written in, I want you to take a second and think how we would say this number. How would you say this number? I want you to whisper it to yourself. Think about how you're going to say this number. So this number we would read as 987 million. Anytime you get to a comma is when you say the word that you're at. So we're not going to say 900 million, 10 millions. That wouldn't make sense. You're going to read the number just like you would if it was just these 3 numbers. 987 million, 654,321. So it's really important to remember you're reading each of the 3 numbers as if they were by themselves and then just adding the words when you get to the comma. So 987 million, 654,321. I'm going to have you answer a couple questions just to make sure you understand place value, and then we're going to move on to different word forms. Now we're going to talk about forms of numbers. You should remember these as well. You've got 3 different forms. We've got standard. And standard form is your super easy one. If I was to say 621, it would be just in number form. Then you've got your word form. Everybody loves word form. You got to write it all out. So I would write 621. And make sure whenever you do like 21 or 32, you have that hyphen in there. Super important. And our last one is expanded form. So this one might look a little bit different from the way you did it in 4th grade because we do it the 5th grade way. So the 5th grade way is parentheses 6 times 100 because the 6 is in the hundreds place. You might have seen it as 600 before, but we don't do it that way. I want you to remind me that it is in the hundreds place. So 6 times 100 plus 2 times 10 because the 2 is in the tens place, plus 1 times 1 because there is a 1 in the ones place. And that's why we went ahead and made the place value chart. So you can take the number 621, go back up to your place value chart, and really see the 6 would be here in the hundreds place. So it's 6 times 100. That looks easy now, but wait till we get to where we have to go to 100 millions. Then it gets super long. Let's go ahead and practice. I'm going to start you off with a super easy one. Let's start with 4,382. Let's write that in word form. So you're going to write it just like you would read it. We would read this as 4,382. Now remember, there is no and. The and is when we get to decimals. So let's write it as 4,000. You should be taking notes. Comma, because there is a comma in the number. 382. Now, I know some of you really want to put an and, 382, but you do not put an and until we get to decimals. You just read it as 4,382. Now, let's go to expanded form. We know that 4 is in the thousands place. Then we know that the 3 is in the hundreds place. Expanded form is super easy. You just go down the number. We know that the 8 is in the tens place. And we know that the 2 is in the ones place. Super easy. Let's go down to the next one. I'm going to start you a little bit more difficult in the expanded form section. So here, let's say 6 times 10,000. While I'm writing this, I want you to be thinking about what it would be in standard and word form. But you also need to be writing it in expanded form in your notebook. Let's do 2 times 100 plus 8 times 10 plus 6 times 1. Now you might be thinking, Miss Wilson, you forgot one, but I didn't. Let's take a look at this. We know that the 6 is in the 10,000s place. But if you look, there's nothing in the thousands place. So we're going to put a 0. Now, I could have put like 0 times 1,000, but you know that 1,000 times 0 is 0. So there's no point. So we've got 60,000, comma. We've got a 2 in the hundreds place, an 8 in the tens place, and a 6 in the ones place. 60,286. Let's go ahead and write that in word form. Remember to pause the video if you need to. 60,000. Now remember, it's 60,000, not 6,000, because you've got that 0 in the thousands place. 60,000, comma, 280, 86. Beautiful. Let's do one more altogether, and then you can have some to try on your own. All right, this time I'm going to give you a word form. I'm going to give you, let's say, 300 100, 2,000, 80, comma, 84. Go ahead and be thinking about how you would write that in standard form. 302,084. I did leave you some zeros in there, so make sure you're thinking about that. Let's start with the 302,000. 302. You would write that as 302, comma, because it says 1,000, 84. So I can't just write 84 because if I'm looking at my place value, that means I'm missing a place value. I don't have 3 place values here. So I need to make sure I put my 0 in for the hundreds place. 302,084. Let's go ahead and do this in expanded form. We know we're starting with a 3, and we know it's in the hundred thousands place. So 3 times 100,000 plus, remember, there's nothing in the 10,000s place. So we're skipping that. Moving on to the 2 times the 1,000s place. Plus, there's nothing in the hundreds place, so skip that. 8 times 10, because 8's in the tens. Plus 4 times 1, because the 4 is in the ones place. All right, I'm going to have you answer some questions now, just to make sure you understand. Remember, I will be checking these questions, so try your hardest, because I'm going to have to check in with you if we get a ton wrong. Again, make sure you answer or ask questions if you have them, because I can't read your mind.